I'm actually going to begin with a digression, if you'll pardon me. Those of you who were here last week, we talked about what salt of the earth means, and I began by sharing a bottle of wine, the label, description on the bottle of wine that I was using in a wine tasting last night. And the description was green mangoes and salted pears. And I said, no, how is that possible that it could be good? Opening it last night was a real shock to me, because it was not only fantastic, but it was paired perfectly well with a little appetizer that was a Melba toast with wasabi mayonnaise and a piece of smoked salmon and a piece of ginger. Amazing. I'll tell you, if you want the recommendation later, if you're able and of age, I'll share the name. You know, this is my favorite magazine. I quote from it often, America. An article this week entitled, "A New Generation Imagines the Future. Tomorrow's Theologians," by a man by the name of Paul Crowley. And he says, theologians can discern the future reflected in today's students. Then he asks, who are these students? And he goes to describe some characteristics and facets that he recognizes in students. I only want to talk about one, but I'll read them all to you. Idealistic realists, pioneers, cultural experts, no-nonsense Catholics, future theologians. And here's the one I want to read to you. Spiritual, not religious. One should not be too quick to condemn the "I'm spiritual, not religious" mantra of many students, for it may express a desire for more depth than they are being fed in mainstream religious education. Two dimensions of Christian faith have deep appeal to many of these students. First is their discovery that faith is not the same thing as assent to dogma or adherence to religious duty. Religion in these senses attends faith, but does not describe it. Rather, faith is the acceptance of the gift of God's love in the person of Jesus Christ. It is a relationality, quote, more intimate to me than I am to myself, to quote St. Augustine. When shared and communicated, that relationality establishes a community of faith. When students see it this way, they are free to focus on the heart of the matter and to appreciate the classical expressions of faith, like the creeds and the council teachings. The second dimension is the notion of God as mystery, God as incomprehensible, ineffable, endlessly knowable and lovable, yet not possibly contained or summed up within a single doctrinal formulation. God is not an object alongside others. This too is freeing. It allows students to discover how their search for the spiritual dovetails with the deepest parts of their religious selves. The choice is not between atheism and faith, but between simplistic formulations of faith and a journey through life into their own transcendent depths. Many students seek to be religious with spiritual depth. And I can tell you from experience, at least for the last 5.5 years that I've spent here on this campus, that I meet students like this every day. Students who have a depth about them, have a profundity about them, have a thirst for God, and share that thirst and that love for God with so many other people. Which is why I'm so very disappointed at times when I turn on Twitter or Facebook and I see a Christian or a Catholic using foul language. It upsets me terribly. And I don't care if the foul language is a quote from a song or a poem or from the best rapper in the world. Foul language is foul language. Your name is attached to it. Our Christianity, our Catholicism is attached to it. And the whole world sees it. I hear Jesus' words in the gospel. Unless your righteousness and your holiness, which is what he means, surpasses that of the scribes and Pharisees, you won't enter the kingdom of heaven. What was it about the scribes and the Pharisees that was keeping them from getting to heaven? Was their strict adherence of the law. Not because they loved God above all else and their neighbor as themselves, but because they wanted to justify themselves in the faith. They practiced the law as it was written, the letter of the law. And as the article says, many students in our day and age, many young people, many adults, want to get to the heart of the law, the spirit of the law. So when we look at some of the commandments, we could say against the fifth commandment, no, I don't kill, I don't murder. But we have to ask ourselves, how angry do I get at my friends at times? How often do I kill my brother or sister by gossiping and talking behind their backs and destroying or killing their reputation? That's the spirit of the law, not just the letter. We can say about the sixth commandment, innocent, I don't commit adultery. But what about lewd conduct? What about inappropriate speech? What about inappropriate dress? What about fornication? What about premarital sex and hooking up? That's the spirit of the law. My brothers and sisters, you heard the wisdom of Jesus ben Sirach in the opening reading. If you choose, you can follow the commandments and they will save you. But those commandments aren't just the strict adherence to the law. It's the spirit behind the law. The spirit which drives us to obey the commandments. And that is our great love for God and for the person of God, the face of God in one another.